Hey everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. This is RCB, aka Rocket Catchin' Bob, and today I want to go over a few things. Trend breaks, fake outs, and even price targets. So let's start with the number one gainer of the day, which was RVPH. Let's go back to the daily, because this is where everyone should pretty much start their day looking left. Look back at this chart, get a good idea of where you think that you could actually see the stock reaching, and the way you want to do that is by finding your support levels or resistances to give you a better clue of where you might want to scale out at. So in this instance, we have a lot of support previously around the 790s area. You can see here it was testing, came back again 3, 4 times, 5 times, and now it's broken underneath it. We're going to assume that that will be a huge resistance. Just psychological stuff. This is just how charts work, and hope this actually helps you out a lot. Number 2, if you look at the daily chart, you should always use the 200 SMA. It's a huge resistance, and anytime I've ever seen a stock go to that 200 SMA very quickly, it's always really had a struggle at that mark. So I always use this on my long-term charts and even for my resistance levels. So let's go back to the intraday and kind of find out what we saw here for the day. So RVPH kind of started out by getting halted this morning and coming back down to consolidation levels. I had spoke about it in the Twitch stream where we live trade every day from 8:30 a.m. until about lunch, that it needed to hold this level here, about 550s. And actually came down pretty perfectly, didn't break underneath it, and held it as a support, which was beautiful, right? So one of the things that I like about this play was I know it was pretty clear that resistance was somewhere in this area about 625s, and support was here at about 550s. This actually did get a nice break upward, comes back down to support, holds again, and so forth. It does it again, and then later on it kind of fades out. Volume starts to disappear a bit, and we kind of just consolidate for a while. Didn't really choose to go bouncing back up very quickly or even breaking down. So in the instance that it kind of stays around, you should leave it on your watch list and just keep watch on it. Don't give up on it, because you know these things tend to kind of catch themselves and run later. So here's another resistance level from earlier in the day, about say $7, 702. I guess we could draw a line like this, right? Here's some pretty cool stuff about this play too. It had some trouble earlier, big resistance at a whole number of $7. It consolidates, no one really wants it, it's just kind of chilling, and then later about lunchtime, you see a nice pop over $7. And anytime you see something that's a top gainer, it consolidates and continues to kind of move forward and hold that VWAP into the afternoon is always going to be something that you can make some money on, especially in this case where it breaks 7s and you want to try to get in as close as you can to that 7 mark after this break. If it breaks underneath it, sure, maybe you just get out of it, you take your pretty much break even on it and you're happy and whatnot, whatever. But the fact is, you already know from the daily that this has actually made a big move already. We know resistance is at 790s, so we start testing that. Maybe that can become support and it can get a nice squeeze. So our idea, let's go back to the daily, is kind of we get the squeeze at 790s, maybe we could play for this 200 SMA. But that's my max kind of price target on this play, just because I know the 200 SMA is really, really difficult and can cause some issues for traders in the future. So this actually does get that break at 790s perfectly. Funny enough, it's just right on the line, right? Gets a break, gets a big squeeze, lots of volume comes in, and it gets a push all the way up to about 950s. You know, another thing you can look out for is 950 to $10 psychological resistance, and this actually hits it perfectly. So if anyone banked on this today, congratulations to you. I think this is a stock we can always look back at and have a good idea kind of how you can play these and how you could set up that price target for later in the day. It actually consolidates back down after lunch, and it's kind of starting to work out a little bit more now. So again, we might see a $9.50 break to $10, but I still think we'll have tons of resistance. But it would be great to see maybe a second day push tomorrow. We'll see. Let's take a look at a couple other plays. That was kind of my recap on RVPH. Let's look at MVIS. And again, we're going to start with the daily. On this one, we can see that we already have one big green day. Actually, I guess the first one right here doesn't count, but it has lots of volume, right? The volume is increasing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every day, right? Really cool. So 2 big green days. I always kind of I tell everybody, you know, watch out, especially when they start getting overextended like this one. Let me get my other thing. So we got number 1 here, first green day, second big green day. And I feel like at this point, yes, you know, the bears are kind of trapped in it. They're getting demolished. And usually on the third day, you'll start seeing some other shorts that maybe not in the play who are interested in trying to get into this, because there's a lot more room to the downside than there is the upside. So there's a couple ways you can play this as a bull. Number 1, you can scalp. You can you know, take profits while they're there, kind of just stay short term. You don't probably want to play an overnight after it's extended this far. And number 2, just kind of wait and watch, because a lot of this is maybe people are getting aggressive today and they're shorting it. And maybe they thought here at $24 was going to be the ultimate resistance. And the reason I would say that, look at this. And this is another good thing about looking left. Why do they think 24 is probably the top? Well, the last time it went as high as it possibly could before it actually turned around was right here in this $24 area. So if you're short, they're trying to get in as close as they can to that $24 so they can risk off of it with a minimal risk. And later on, you actually see that this actually breaks the 24, and you'll see a lot. Look at all this volume. People getting squeezed because they were trying to get in it today to risk off the level, thinking, hey, we're pretty safe here. I got a good risk to reward on the short side. Unfortunately for them, it actually did break, and we got a ton of volume. I mean, like 15, 25 million, which is fantastic for the bulls who are actually taking control of this. And they take it all the way up to 27, 28. Now, I would love to see that again in the future, but just be aware, if you're in this play, you don't want to be holding it forever. This is definitely something you should be taking some profits on along the way, not holding this for 50 or anything. Don't get in that mindset. This is just a really good short squeeze from bears who are trying to be aggressive that are failing to accomplish their mission here. Let's see if I had this. I had something to... Hold on one sec here. All right. So I was going to talk to this also today. So we actually have this $23 area where it's kind of going across like this. And this is kind of like what I like to talk about, fake outs. As I said, we would cover this. So earlier in the day, we were like high day was about $23. We consolidated a bit. We started testing back again on consolidation and trying to break it. Well, here we go, breaking 23. Some people actually take a position here, and they're trying to get this $24 in a squeeze. And sure, that can happen, and that would be such a great thing. But in this instance, it actually doesn't hold this 23, and it just flops back down to 22s. So in this instance of breaking out and trying to just go, and there's a lot of volume down here, this is what I would consider a fake out. We tried, we failed, right? So later on this chart, you actually see maybe even some of these bulls who got kind of put in here trying to buy this breakout, got consolidation phase in this area, and then they got ripped down here at about 1 million shares on this red candle, which in this instance made a lot of people probably think about shorting the play, thinking, hey, this is going to kill momentum. Everyone who is in this previous area, you know, in this area right here, are all underwater, right? Because we're under here, we're under VWAP. But actually, funny enough, this actually holds, and it brings itself back up to 23s. Anytime, that's why you got to keep these things on watch. You just don't know if it's going to trap some bulls, and then it goes down and traps some bears. And now it's 50-50. Both sides are kind of trapped in it, don't know which way they want to take it, and it actually consolidates forward and can't break 24. But what you do know, if you take anything from this, is you know 24 has been that resistance the entire time. So later on, if this thing even gets close to breaking it, then you know you probably want to take a shot at it. And if you could do two things. You could either buy it here as it continues to try to get to this 24 level. You can see there's volume coming in and you think that there's going to be a squeeze. Or number two, you can let it break out and prove itself, and you can try to get in on some of these dips as close as you can to 24. So if it actually breaks back underneath it, you just take your small loss and move on. So there's a couple ways of playing that there, and I hope this helps you out. Showing you guys a little bit about some targets and some fake outs. Here the target is like, 10% of 24 is going to be 26.40. So if you would have got somewhere in this area, of course, you'd have been super happy just to make 10% of your entry, right? Let's see what else I got. NAKD, was there was a trend here, wasn't there? Let me see if I can find it. 1 second. OCGN maybe. This is something I wanted to talk about actually. So OCGN was another top gainer of the day, and what we should kind of note about this was on Friday it made a great move, right? Friday it went from 10 to 13.50s, and everyone was thinking about it today, especially during lunch, because Friday was the first day we've seen anything pretty much give a little bit more juice than normal, right? A lot of things have been dying out and fading, and we were kind of wondering maybe today it would be the same. We would actually get a nice push and keep going. So let's just kind of skip to this level about 11 o'clock, and we knew it was over VWAP. We knew that it actually had kind of pushed itself up in a bullish manner, and we wanted to try to play off, say, a trend line, right? Let's see if I can get the right tool. There's a nice little trend line here going across, and we wanted to absolutely make sure it holds this trend line. And if it doesn't hold the trend line, then you got to get out of the play, right? So anytime you see some dips, consolidation, we have this nice wedge kind of forming. We're expecting maybe it breaks out of the wedge and gives us a nice push to maybe say $13, because that was our resistance line. That was our first target, right? And the way we found out that first target was just going by the daily and looking back to say, well, where has it got stuffed at? Well, it's got stuffed at $13. It's got stuffed at $14. So in this instance, we could perhaps think the same. So actually what happened was we played it off the dips, playing off the trend line. It consolidated, and unfortunately, it actually does end up failing that trend line, and that's where you just have to take your loss and move on. So today is mainly about some of the trend breaks, fake outs, but also giving you guys a little bit more price targets, because if this thing is holding trend lines and it gets a nice push upward and gets a nice volume, then of course you want to take some profits along the way. You don't want to just hold and hope, and maybe you get through the first resistance line, and maybe you get a little bit over 1320s, but then all of a sudden you see it kind of do this move where it's like breaks, and then you're like all happy and stuff, and you're going to make some money today, and then all of a sudden it just doesn't even give you a bounce. It just comes all the way back down to the trend line. Always take some profits along the way. Have these trend lines in mind for your stop losses to protect yourself, but also have those targets in mind so you're always taking gains along the way. That's how you make money in this in the stock market. You're being conservative, you're taking what the market gives you, and over time it pays dividends, right? So if this video helped you out at all, please leave us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on the notification bell, so then every time we drop a video, you'll know when it's live. Also, if you guys don't know already, we actually stream live every day, 8:30 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv. All you got to do is search my name, Rocket Catchin' Bob, or you can look down in the description below, and it'll actually give you the link to that channel for you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.